Let's explore this new addition to the English language, chargering. Cam Akers gets into a fist fight at a joint practice with the Rams and Raiders. And also, let's preemptively crush a Lakers rumor before it actually begins. Good morning or good afternoon. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. So I realize I am late. The best way to describe it is that sometimes life is like an unending speed bag display to your own testicles. Man, are they bruised. And that's why I like LA sports, because at least it gives me something to look forward to in life. So if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and comment. Like I said, no matter how crazy life gets, there is always good stuff to talk about when it's LA sports. Now, before we go through the news and notes, we'll look at last night's scoreboard. The Dodgers have won 10 consecutive games. Mookie Betts goes 3 for 4 with 4 runs scored. Dodgers 7, Milwaukee 1. Clayton Kershaw, hey, he improves to 11-4. Again, a 10-game winning streak. 10-game lead in the NL West. Guys, you don't want to just jump too far ahead. But for the doom and gloom we heard about LA, they're back in the playoffs and probably have won the NL West in a runaway. Meanwhile, tonight, Milwaukee's going to play the Dodgers again at 7. Lance Lynn is 3-0 with a 2.00 ERA. He's facing Corbin Burnes, who's 9-6 with a 3.60 ERA. Now, yesterday, Lindsay Theory, never met her, seems like a decent writer. She covers the Chargers for ESPN, and she decided to tackle the subject of chargering. Now, when the Chargers were in San Diego, I just want to be blunt with you guys, especially if you are a Chargers fan. Let's just be real. When the Chargers were in San Diego, I despised them. No lie. I mean, there were fewer things that I hated on this earth more than San Diego sports fans. This whole, the San Diego sports fan, the typical one, is the poop-talkingest, have-nothingest pack of elitist snobs that I've ever met, right? But then the Chargers, hey, they moved to LA. And for me, I was like, you know what? Welcome to the family. Welcome to being back to the Angeleno familia, right? Because San Diego has a profound history of losing teams to LA, both the Clippers and the Chargers. They have lost more teams to LA than they've won world championships. You see what I'm saying? So I had never heard, though, of chargering. I'd never heard of that phrase before. But apparently that phrase was a created word that goes back decades, back when they were the San Diego Chargers. I mean, it blew my mind. It's not just LaDainian Tomlinson who took part in a game that was chargering, but Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts? Regardless of what you may or may not think of San Diego sports teams, Dan Fouts has always come across as one of the nicest people in all of sports. He said he's actually responsible for some of it. He doesn't want to be, but he claims that he is. Now, what did Dan Fouts ever do to deserve that? I don't know. Now, we fast forward on to today. We take a look back at the Chargers' history. Recent history, as a matter of fact. Chargers blowing a 27-point lead in the playoffs to Jacksonville. For his part, Coach Brandon Staley said he rejects the term. More than reject it, he, quote, resents it, unquote. But man, that Jacksonville game is part of it. As is, by the way, a 2006 playoff game, when the Chargers went into the playoffs having compiled a 14-2 record and tanked to the New England Patriots. In that game, which I definitely remember like the back of my hand, I remember defensive back Marlon McCree, prior to the game, talking all this crap about Tom Brady. And then he picks off Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. Now, had he held on to the ball and kept possession, Chargers could have run out the clock, won the game, advanced. Instead, he decided to hot dog it. He fumbled, Patriots get the ball back, score a touchdown, and the Patriots had control of the game from then. So is there such a thing as chargering? Is there? Well, when you look at Jacksonville, when you look at New England and other possibilities, maybe it does. Now, I'm not trying to go into some sort of X-Files thing about how the great unknown is out there. But if you really want to know my opinion about it, there are two things that the Chargers of today can do. The first of which is and they all kind of tie together, is humble down. Something that they're not used to doing, unfortunately. Like Phillip Rivers back in the day was a trash-talking quarterback. How many trash-talking quarterbacks have won Super Bowls? I can only think of Jim McMahon off the top of my head. How many more were trash talkers? If you're too busy talking trash than to win the playoff game, you are in trouble. And Joey Bosa, by the way, said so as much about the choke in Jacksonville. He was saying that after the Chargers had built a 27-0 lead, he's looking across on both sides of the benches, and the Charger players had turned around, not looking at the field, talking with the Jacksonville fans. Good night, go away, you've lost. No, they didn't lose. To defeat chargering, you have to humble down and play all 4 quarters. It's simple as that. Phillip Rivers talked trash, didn't get a ring. Marlon McCree talked trash, didn't get a ring. Joey Bosa's teammates, and Bosa knows this from being at Ohio State, where they know how to play 4 quarters. Joey Bosa's teammates talked trash, and they got upset in Jacksonville. The solution to chargering, in my arrogant little opinion, is focus and humility. Now, whether they actually take my advice on that, let's be real. Of course not. But that would be my 2 cents. Let's move on, shall we? There was a lot of news between the Rams and Raiders yesterday in a joint practice. Cam Akers, a running back, actually threw punches with Raiders defensive end Maxx Crosby. Now, ESPN went online and they tisk-tisked and they tut-tutted the whole thing. Oh, how terrible it is to get into fights. Shame on them. Look, guys, that happens all the time in these joint scrimmages, so stop it. Stop moralizing. It's football. The only morals in football are the ones that involve little yellow flags. You at ESPN are ill-equipped to start judging other people on the field. Now, it does matter. The fight does matter in one sense. Coach Sean McVay said if you get into a fist fight in these joint practices, you're kicked out of practice. So Akers missed a couple of snaps. But in the big scheme of things, the Rams have bigger fish to fry than whether Cam Akers got his touches in a shared practice with the Raiders. So this is an extremely overblown story. But I will say that I credit Cam Akers because in the tail of the tape, Maxx Crosby should knock him, just mollywop him from one end of the field to the other. But Cam Akers stood his ground. So I'll give him that. The NFL Network is reporting that Cooper Kupp's hamstring will keep him out of practice until next week at the earliest. In his stead, Tutu Atwell apparently looked very good in the joint practice. Also, Rams rookie cornerback Trey Tomlinson was matched up against Devontae Adams. Now, Adams beat him once, true, but Tomlinson also held his own, deflected, made a couple of plays on defense as well. We also have a little bit more information about Rams rookie defensive end Byron Young. Apparently, the reason that he's not necessarily up there with everybody else is he doesn't have the legs to do it yet. Now, I'm not talking about how much he can squat. I'm talking about the Rams coaches are saying that Young can really hang for about 20 snaps. And after that, you can tell he looks really tired. Finally, I want to drop some cold water on the Stetson Bennett hype train from Saturday. He did get better as the game went on against the Chargers, absolutely. But what were the Chargers doing? They were putting in the 3rd string, the 4th string, the 5th string. Doesn't it stand to reason that Bennett would have an easier time against guys that would have trouble latching on to an XFL team? Wouldn't you say? Just asking, guys. So I don't necessarily think he's the quarterback of the future yet. Let's hold off. There was a lot of hype for Stetson Bennett. It's a premature thing to write. Speaking of premature things to write, I want to illustrate how Pavlovian sports writers are. That's a real pastime of mine. Any little change in a player's mood, and all of a sudden these bloggers and these writers, they can't wait to scramble to the keyboard and start typing out about how somebody wants a trade based on nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's literally like all of these sports writers are just little hamsters, like in a Pavlovian experience. You hear the bell and all the little hamsters come running up to go get the food pellet. Stimuli and reaction, okay? So the reason I bring this up is because 76ers center Joel Embiid edited his Twitter file. He removed the part that says he plays for the Sixers. And guess what that means according to Alex Kirschenbaum of Sports Illustrated? He chased that little dinner bell to the food pellet and writes, "Does this mean the Lakers will go get him?" No, they won't. Stop it. This is how you kept hearing for years and years about how Kyrie Irving was coming to the Lakers, and it never happened. It's always based on nothing. Joel Embiid probably took out that he plays for the 76ers because he's trying to send a message to the 76ers. He might be trying to send it about keeping James Harden. He might be sending it about renegotiating his own contract. There are a million reasons, but it does not mean, yes, I want to leave Philadelphia and go along to the Lakers and totally replace Anthony Davis, who, by the way, has one more ring than Joel Embiid. So there's that. You've heard of preseason All-American lists, which always strike me as moderately amusing. It's like, oh, they haven't played yet, but trust us, they're going to be the best in the nation. CBS Sports unveiled its preseason All-Americans. USC lands 2 players on the list. See if you can guess one of them. Caleb Williams? Yeah, that would be one. No kidding. The guy with the Heisman Trophy propping up the edge of his IKEA table. You would be right. The second one, by the way, is safety Kalen Bullock. He makes the second team. So there is that. A couple of notes, though, from Trojans camp. A Trojans blogger says that 2 starting offensive lineman positions still have not been settled. At right tackle, it's Mason Murphy versus Michael Tarkin. Left guard is Emmanuel Pregnon versus Gino Quinones. Now, in the latter battle, it appears to be leaning towards Quinones, because he's had more time playing in USC under Lincoln Riley. Theoretically knows the offense a little better. Also, you might recall about a week ago, we were complaining about the CBS columnist named Barrett Saley, who opined that USC was overrated because they were 6th in the coaches poll. Like, sports writers like him know more about college football than coaches, right? But then, of course, then the writers come out in the AP poll. They call them 6th. ESPN has power rankings. They label the Trojans 6th. So, look, bottom line, real simple. ESPN tried to speculate about the Trojan season. They said the ceiling is getting into the college football playoffs. We knew. And they also said that the worst case scenario for the Trojans is the second half of the season against all the tougher opponents undercuts them. No duh. We knew. Basically, the bottom line is this. You're going to hear a lot of East Coast writers say that USC is overrated, but the coaches, the sports writers, and individual major sports networks all agree that currently, as built, USC is the 6th best team in the nation, possibly going on the way up based on its offense. Joe Kelly, over with the Dodgers, will be throwing, bullpen sessions while on the 15-day injured list. He has forearm inflammation. He's going to test it tomorrow. This is according to Dave Roberts. Finally, this is something that I noted, CBS, going back to them, they listed the overlooked players in Major League Baseball. For the NL West, the most overlooked player is a Padres infielder, which is fine, whatever. They're 16 games back. It's not going to mean anything to me. But The second player that is most overlooked in the NL West, according to them, is Jason Hayward. Because when the Dodgers wind up having to move Mookie Betts into the infield, somebody had to take his place. And Hayward's been holding his own with a bounce-back season. He's got 11 home runs so far this year. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Do you believe chargering exists? And if so, what is your solution to chargering? Tell me if Cam Akers could actually go 3 rounds with Maxx Crosby. And if you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports, good times and bad, every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. I will be back tomorrow morning. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care. Bye-bye.